Takes Radio Company presents another edition of Interesting Ideas. And today, could it be time to change your name? Or the name of what you do? Because could everything you know be wrong? Let's talk about that. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Stan the Radio Man, with another Interesting Ideas podcast. And today we're going to be talking about changing names, because we're going to change the name of the podcast. And I'll tell you a little bit about why we're going to do that, and a little bit about the importance of changing names. But first of all, just an admission of joy. This is my daughter's birthday. And in case you're wondering, age and stage, this is hard to believe. My youngest daughter is 50 years of age today. Wow. How did that happen? Okay, so that means I've got lots of memories. And so I think this might be helpful in our discussion today as we try and at least keep young in spirit and mind. I remember a number of years ago when I was teaching school, and what happened was that I was very much involved in the 11th grade of the social studies department. There was history and a variety of other things that went along with it. And I was doing what I'm pretty good at doing, storytelling and teaching at that time. But I remember very much what happened one time is I had lunch duty. Of course, I hated lunch duty. Now, the real thing behind lunch duty, now this may age me and stage me, was the fact that you obviously had to make sure they're not throwing lunch. But that means you also had to jump in from time to time to the boys' restroom to try and catch the smokers. Yeah, that was a big deal, and you grab them and they take them to the office, and they would get detention or suspension, something like that. But the lunch time was just about over, and so I was making my way back to the classroom, and it just turns out that it had been the change of the semester, and 3 students of mine were walking along, and they were ahead of me, and they had at least 2 students had been mine, and they were talking about the classes that they were signed up for this new semester, or this new trimester, as it worked out. And I remember this comment from a very bright young woman and brilliant student, and the conversation went something like this: "Oh, I think I'm signed up for the Russian history class." And they turned and said, "Well, who's your teacher?" And he said, "Well, I don't know, but I think I'm in Russian history, but the teacher, yes, the teacher is Mr. Houston." And the young woman, turned and says, "It doesn't matter what they call it, because it's always Houston." No matter what the course is or what they're teaching, it's Houston. And I think that was probably a fair reputation as I think about it. And that's been the story of my life. I have opinions and ideas on almost everything. Well, here's the importance of the naming change. I'm me, and that's very significant to me, but a lot of the things I'm doing are changing, and a lot of the different programs I'm doing, even at this advanced stage in life, which is obvious, are going to be changing. And so I really want to tell the story that goes back something like this, okay? Many years ago, I was captured as I was doing my performance coaching by a Forbes magazine article that came out, I believe it was in October of 1998. And the article, and I was so taken by it that I took the cover of the magazine and I took it off and literally had a big poster made out of it as a way of kind of remembering things and of coaching. And here it was, Peter Drucker, the great consultant of the, of all time, at least at that time, maybe the inventor of management consulting. The title of the magazine was something like this: Remember, everything you've learned about the new economy could be wrong. Everything you've learned could be wrong. And you know what? That's a pretty good way to begin any talk, exploration, discovery today. Things are changing so fast and in such a rapid sequence that it doesn't mean that you believe something wrong when you believed it, but it's wrong now. Certainly there are eternal principles. I believe that, and we've got to remember that. But sometimes the mark of the mature human being, the person who not only grew older, but they grew up, was the fact that they adopt the recognition that what I learned before and what I thought I knew could be wrong. Well, the reason I'm bringing that up is that's how I want to change the name of the podcast. Uh, Interesting ideas. And of course, part of the reason for that is ideas are important, because ideas, when you search for them, they'll give you greater insight into what's going on. What's going on here? What's up, Doc? The great Bugs Bunny line. What's up? What's going on? And that means insight can lead to you having a greater sense of influence. You would understand the times and know what to do. So you have ideas lead to insight, which leads to influence, which can lead to what we're talking about today, the impact zone. You can begin to make an impact, because actually impact is what matters today. You have to make an impact. And impact eventually, in the world that we're in, translates to income. Not income just in the money sense, but the things that come to you. We are all, as I say, in the impact making business today. Because if we're not, there's a very good chance we're somewhat out of business. And so that's why our new program that we're putting out is oftentimes called the Impact Zone. And some of you know that we've already begun to deal with that. However, I wanted to back off here again and say, what about the ideas? And so I think one of the ways I want to frame it now, okay, here we have the old thing. I've changed. I've changed the name of my podcast a number of times. That's okay, because everything is changing. And what might have been interesting last year might not be what I want to talk about this year or this month. Okay. So what I simply want to do is something like this. Now you can give me some feedback on this. Rather than interesting ideas, maybe they're instigating ideas, innovative ideas, irritating ideas, inspirational ideas, because maybe just interesting ideas is kind of boring or dull. So I'm going to come up with a name up there on the top, and I'm going to talk about certain ideas. But then here is the topics that I want to put most things under. Because could it be that everything you've learned is wrong? Could it be that everything you thought you knew or everything you learned is wrong? And once we believe that that might be true, that might be the path to true wisdom. And wisdom is what we all need. In fact, the purpose of money is to acquire wisdom. I really believe that. Um, there is, in my mind, there is God's special wisdom, and we need to acquire it. There's different kinds of wisdom that we might need to be aware of. But wisdom begins with perhaps the admission and the sense of humiliation. You're ready to be humiliated. Um, the other day, I just simply had to remind myself that I had been wrong. I'd been wrong. And you know what? I found out that that's a little bit hard for me. But let me tell you something else. For most people, it's impossible. And that's the problem. I was wrong. I was wrong. I got that wrong. I've changed my mind. I don't think that way anymore. I've improved. So that's where I would like to take it. And I'm going to ask you to give me some suggestions about how we frame that. What kind of ideas might be necessary for us to just look and say, because what you've learned might be wrong. And that's some of the things we might want to talk about. Well, there we go. Thank you for your time on this very special day. I remember when our children were very young that my dear wife had gotten a big red plate. And it was called simply you put it in front of somebody and it says, this is your special day. And so it was called a red plate day. You know, it could be a variety of things, something that happened, but always on the birthday. And I think my daughter, who is now a woman writer for a major corporation in New York City and doing extremely well, um, may still remember when mom and dad put out the red plate um, many years ago. All the best and blessings to you. And that will not change. That's forever. We are called in many ways to just leave best and blessings at every turn, all the time. Take care. Till next time. On whatever we're going to rename the program. Bye for now.